Welcome to the Synced Up podcast. We still haven't been cancelled, but this is the podcast where we talk all things tech, digital media, and anything business related. This week's episode is all Apple versus Google versus Microsoft and having a bit of a conversation around that. But before that, we're going to have a quick catch up. My name's Matt. I run an IT business, and with us we have...
So I'm Josh, and I run a video production company.
So let's get into it. So, Josh, what have you been up to this week?
Well, beginning of the week we filmed episode 3 and put that together. Aside from that, we've been doing a little bit of planning around. There's a few sort of bigger shoots coming up. One is in Ireland. That should be quite interesting. So that's all photo with an art director. Okay. And we've been doing a lot of like very specific shot planning. So looking at like a full sort of run through of selected hero shots, and they'd even picked out like stock footage examples that they sort of were like, we want it to look just like this.
Is that helpful?
Yeah, it's really helpful because you've got like an image reference. So they're basically, in this instance, they're basically saying, if this stock footage had our brand and our people in it, that would be perfect. So you're sort of recreating really with their offices.
It gives you a theme and something to work towards, like a bit like storyboarding. Sometimes it's hard to visualize how it's going to look, right? But if you've got we want it to kind of look like this, and at least you've got, okay, well that makes it a little bit easier in a way.
Yeah, you can focus really like a lot more on like the details in the shot then as well, because if you're figuring it out on the day, then you're sort of like, well, you need to just sort of move on. Or you're trying to figure out lighting and camera position, and that takes up all your time. Whereas if you know where the lighting is roughly going to be, and you know roughly where the camera is going to be, you can then focus on like, what's that in the background? Do we want that little thing there, or are we going to remove that in post? Or you can get quite technical.
You said he was an art director.
Yeah, so we have an art director leading us on this one. Right. So he's basically just going to tell us what to do. So we've been. The brief has been quite loose for a while, and we're now starting to get close to the point where if we need to get things like lighting or equipment, we need to be doing that. Probably next week is our like cutoff really for that before it gets too close.
Well, I'm guessing the art director's going to... it sounds like he's got some idea of what he's looking to do, right? So is it helpful?
Yes, I think... So I've been working with someone else on like the photography and lighting side. And between us, we've sort of said, we plan on doing this and this and this. And because we've not really heard much from the art director, we've sort of just gone and thrown it at him. And then he's turned around and been like, oh, no, don't worry. We'll just figure it out like on the day. We just want like one light. And I was like, wow, okay. I mean, it's on his head that we get the shots like right. Obviously, we'll do as we're told by him, and we'll get as best as we can. But it sounds like he wants to run it quite like a just not wing it, but very sort of fluid move, like moving things around, changing up the shot last minute, which is okay. But I feel like we're going to a lot of effort to get models and location.
You're getting a flight, you're going out there, and for the sake of a few conversations, you might as well have a little bit of a plan together so you can prepare rather than, we do need more lights. I wish we'd have actually spoke about this.
Yeah, exactly. Because we've been talking about things like how we're going to cover, say, the room lights, because they want it quite moody. They basically, their brief is they want it to look like an out of hours like office. So lots of lights are turned off. It's just like little clustered scenes in light. So obviously the whole place is probably on lights that are on sensors that most likely people there won't know how to turn off. So we've been talking about like we need to take different tapes to like cover the lights, and how are we going to block a lot of these lights if they're in shot as well. So
just a few of the many problems you seem to always encounter on like, how do we get this done? How do we make it look a certain way? And some of it you have to figure out on site. But if you can, as much planning as you can do, it's gonna make the process smoother.
Yeah, I prefer the forward planning, but hey, can't tell your art director what to do, can you? So, but how's your week going anyway? What have you
Well,
been
we've just come from the Sterling Expo. So it's a business expo where you can go for breakfast or brunch, and then there's a lot of people exhibiting in terms of like they have their business stands and a lot of delegates there to turn up and walk around. So me and you did our usual thing. We weren't specifically exhibiting as us, although I do like the idea of synced up having a stand in.
Ooh, that would be quite
That
cool.
would be really cool, wouldn't it? One day. I mean, quite a cost to get there. So maybe we need to keep building our audience before we get to that level. But I think it's I really like the idea of us getting a podcast stand at an expo like that.
That
So
would be pretty cool.
that would be pretty cool. Maybe even record a live No, that's an awful idea. Don't let's not go down that route. But yeah, but it was quite good energy. They always are. Like you get there at like 6:45. It's still dark, and then suddenly the full energy, breakfast in your face, and you've got to go. And for those of you that haven't done expos or even attended like business meetings, you have to do a 60-second pitch about your business. I'm not going to make you do yours now.
I
How would you rate your 60 seconds? You have to do it 3 times this morning.
My first one was actually really good.
Yeah.
I think because the previous conversation I've had around 60 seconds is mine are really bad.
Yeah.
So I made a bit of an effort. And then I think, yeah, they stayed okay. They stayed okay. The first one was brilliant though.
My first one was okay. My second one was awful. My third one was great. So, swing and a miss on number 2. But the rest of the week, yeah, we did the filming of the podcast for episode 1 on Monday. It's now Thursday, and in between now and then, I did say on the last episode I'm going to try. I had like a task list of like 20 things, and I had Aaron and Jamie come over. We all work from my house on Tuesday, and I pretty much got every one of the tasks done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. I thought you were going to say there's like 19 left.
No, I absolutely smashed through it, which was really cool. And that's obviously led to then further meetings, and it's busied me up for the next couple of weeks as well. I've got quite a bit of work I'm quoting for at the moment, which is always exciting as well.
Yeah.
So pipeline and things are looking quite good as a business. So that's always sort of exciting. We're very much in the conversations of what we're doing for a Christmas party. Yeah. Which I feel like I need to put a bit of a plan together quickly for.
Yeah, otherwise we're going to be doing another summer party, aren't we? Like instead,
because it's one of those things that you kind of need to book it early, but then you don't want to be thinking about Christmas in like September or October. But then it comes around too quickly. Now we're at the end of November. It's like, oh, we probably need to book something. So my plan is to task Aaron and Jamie to come up with some options, and then I go in and go that one.
Yeah, that's smart.
But it would be cool because obviously we're a team of 4 now. You guys are a team of 4 as well.
Yeah,
3.
Unless with cats coming.
We've done it before where we've conjoined. That's not a word. Conjoined. Joined
forces.
Joined forces. They might do that again this year, but yeah. So that's what we've got going on at the moment. Let's get into the heart of this week's podcast. So this week we're talking about Google, Microsoft, and Apple. And I'm going to try and keep this podcast a little bit more on track timing-wise. I think we're like 45 minutes on the first 2, then did almost an hour on the last one, didn't we? So
I know, I'm
keeping my eye on the time, so I'm going to try and rein us in. But as a new business, or even as an existing business, you're going to have a choice on. You're going to want most businesses, unless you completely are a tech-free company that I don't know. Trade springs to mind again. I spoke about it last week, where you're really not using a laptop all that much, maybe a bit of quoting. But for most companies, they're going to need some form of computer. They're going to be sending emails. They're going to be working on documents. They're going to be putting quotes together. So most businesses are going to need some form of productivity suite. The obvious being in the Google world, you've got Sheets, Docs, Gmail, and Microsoft, you've got Word, Excel, and Outlook, and so forth. So most companies are going to need some kind of productivity suite, email platform, and somewhere to put files, right? And they're going to need to work on some devices. My thought for this sort of section will be, let's split it into hardware, software, and then maybe a little bit on security. So from a hardware standpoint, Josh, Google, Microsoft, Apple, tell us what products are out there as much as you know.
Well, for me, I'm very much Microsoft when it comes to like the sort of computing equipment that we've got. I think it's more just because I grew up with that. Like my brother, he used to do a lot of like computer repairs, and everything that came in was always Microsoft.
Well, they've had market dominance for quite a long time.
Yeah. So I grew up with like, bit of 95, bit of 98, then
Into
into
XP.
Windows XP. XP was awesome.
Yeah, XP was great.
um, and then my dad had always used Apple for his business and his photography work.
That
So
makes sense.
yeah, which is
It's,
interesting. I didn't follow that, but
historically, you've seen Apple products were mainly for like creative organizations,
Mhm.
creatives, just because the Apple suite seemed to be more catered around that. And sometimes MDs, the chief of the company will have a Mac. Just why not?
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'm not sure. I've never actually queried him about exactly why he went for Apple over. Probably because I'm not sure whether maybe Photoshop only started on Mac. I don't know. I'd need to look into it.
I don't know. Good
Uh,
question though.
yeah. Well, I'll have to check into that. I don't know the history on it, but
I think the photo, like editing the baseline, let's say Adobe aside, I think the baseline sort of editing features on Mac was better than Windows, and
mm,
kind of you had more out of the box options and it seemed to run those sort of applications a little bit better. So it was kind of marketed as
okay.
like for creatives, which is possibly why your dad went that route.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure. I imagine they probably did a lot of like research around that time and figured that Apple was going to be the best way forward for them. So I did go through a phase of with like sort of pre-business when I was sort of freelancing, actually using Mac, and I get along with both. I have no issue with either. But for the business, it seems way more cost effective to build something like really powerful than it is to buy Mac's equivalent.
Yeah.
Um, I'll keep an eye on that, but Mac always have a premium,
What
and
about
Apple.
Google? Do you know any of the Google devices?
Well, obviously Google never had like their own operating system, or they
No.
do technically now, don't they? I mean, I don't know much on it.
I think it's called Chrome OS. I think.
Yeah, it's
Um, obviously, okay. The Chrome, obviously, Google have the Chromebook.
yeah.
That's their flagship product,
Hmm.
and I hope Google aren't watching because it's crap. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I'm saying it anyway. Like, if people purchase a Chromebook, I wince like every time because it's just their pain. They don't really take on the apps very well. It's almost like imagine if you had a Windows device that you could only get apps through the store.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
So it makes installing software really annoying. They're usually really under spec, and people usually buy them because they're like 150 quid, 200
yeah.
quid, and they're like, oh, I can get that. Whereas I would say, just please don't. They're not great.
Well, it's all very cloud based, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I find that there's a lot of like push to make everything cloud based,
Yeah.
which is fine for a lot of people. Like if all you do is work on like spreadsheets and Word documents, that's probably fine. But with us, it's like footage files. One shoot might be a terabyte. There's
Yeah.
no way that's syncing to the cloud, even on
Well,
fast.
yeah, cloud is great for most people. The biggest exception I would say is big data. So
Yeah.
any company that like video is an obvious example of a company that's going to mount huge amounts of data very quickly. Where
Yeah.
cloud syncing, especially if you're on and you've experienced this, have been on poor internet,
Mm.
you know how much of a problem that became when you're trying to upload stuff and get things to sync. It's just like 3 days later that file might be uploaded.
Yeah.
And you've been fortunate to get good internet recently.
Yeah, we've upgraded. We upgraded to Starlink because BT wouldn't help us. I'm
Yeah.
putting that in.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, from a hardware standpoint, yeah, Apple, Mac, they are pound for pound more expensive.
Mm,
Arguably can be more robust. You find that with Apple, you're basically buying from Apple and it is an Apple Mac. With Microsoft, obviously you're buying the operating system, Windows, right? Windows 11 at the moment. Obviously it was 10 and so forth, 7, 8 before that. But you've got lots of brands. You've got Lenovo, Asus, Acer, HP, Dell. You used to have Fujitsu, Siemens a bit more. There's always been like 7 to 10 different sort of main manufacturers of laptops and PCs, and then you've got the whole market where you can actually buy individual components and build your own. So,
mm.
for example, here you've got a custom PC built which is really fit for purpose, and all the parts in it were carefully spec'd. Which, if you tried to do that on an Apple, you're probably $4,000 down the hole,
Yeah.
or $4,000 in, where you probably built that for probably less than half the price, to be honest.
Yeah.
So the thing I like about Apple is that it is a more secure operating system by standard. Apple really do lock down better and make it more secure by default. They've got quality control because everything's built by them, and there's no third-party builders kind of getting in the way.
Yeah. Oh, I have a point on that, which is so I've noticed a lot of people recently. There's been a few versions of the Apple MacBook Pro that I've seen a lot of people using, and I don't think Apple make as well as they used to.
Okay.
Because there are elements. One specifically on this was okay. It's a bit older. I think it was a 2018 MacBook Pro. I think the sort of the screen, they had like a film that they put on the screen to help make those blacks really rich.
Yeah.
But after about 2 or 3 years, it starts to it doesn't flake, but it looks like flaky, and it doesn't clean. It doesn't come off. So it's basically you get a wrecked screen.
Okay.
And then the latest ones, they have this cool little interactive sort of like toolbar.
Yeah.
So that changes per app.
It's like a touch panel almost. Yeah.
Which I think is a really cool feature.
Yeah.
But I've seen 3 of those now that have broken.
I'll add to that, because I know somebody that had a company I've just taken on the support for. They had one and it broke.
Yeah.
And they've just accepted it.
This
just
is
don't
it.
use it.
Yeah, this is it. Like the same thing has happened with someone else, because they've had 2 of them now, and they've both had the same problem, and they've just gone, oh well, it's just the way it is. And I'm like, that's not. I feel the way that you like to think about Apple products.
No, you do think them as more as a premium brand where you're going to have a good quality experience for the most part. Same with the iPhone as well. You know, my iPhones have all lasted quite well. I've smashed them up. That's my fault. I'm yeeting it around. But that I can't blame Apple for that. I had an iPhone 8 that lasted, and then I upgraded to a 14. So I had pretty much 6 or 7 years with that, and that lasted quite well.
Yeah.
But I've had PCs that have lasted really long, like Windows-based computers that have lasted a long time as well. And I think with MacBook have the Air range, which is more affordable. You're probably in the £600 to £1,000, depending on what spec you get for an Air. When you're talking about a Windows-based computer, like a Dell or a Lenovo, you're probably on a laptop, maybe £450 to £600 to get a good one. And obviously you can go up the chain on those and get more premium, better build qualities. So you do get a wider range in the sort of Microsoft Windows world, because there's so many third-party suppliers and they're all coming in at different price points. And it's easy to underspec it and go wrong. I might as well just quickly say, usually these days I'm aiming for 16 gigabytes of RAM. Processor-wise, I'm usually in at the Ryzen 5 or the i5, which is been rebranded to the Ultra 5 now. So I usually start the 5s basically, and sometimes go up.
Is there, like, just for people listening, is there a place where people can, because speccing your own equipment's really hard, especially if you're not techie. Is there like a good, maybe like a website or something that you
not that I found, but for clients that want to buy their own equipment, so if they're not buying, I don't force companies to buy through me, because there's not really any money in hardware anyway. But I'm always happy to, if you want to ping me a link or a device you're looking at, or I can do the reverse and send you a minimum spec. You can obviously ask if they're going to be using this. Depends what they're using it for, obviously, that will affect the spec and the price point. But if there's no, like, they're not doing any CAD drawings or rendering like you would do or anything like that, then obviously I'm always happy to recommend. So you can chuck, obviously you got the podcast email there. You can chuck it, if you're ever unsure, chuck it there and I'll grab it and see it and advise. But yeah, there isn't really, I haven't found a default, like, chuck it into this website and it'll say if it's good or bad.
Yeah, because I wonder whether that's what draws a lot of people to Mac, is you sort of, I'll tell you, this is the jumping onto phones. That's why I've got an iPhone, whereas I run Windows computers and I have an iPhone, but I don't want an Apple computer. But because basically I went through a phase of trying cheaper phones because I thought, oh, let's give Android a go. But I found that sometimes the hardware in the cheaper phones, I maybe it's just me, but I could pick out certain things where, like, I don't know, a Bluetooth controller just wasn't, like, everything else was fine, but they'd obviously cheaped out on this Bluetooth controller. So all the music I listened to sounded awful. And
Okay.
it was like, it wasn't like a uniformed level with the
No,
phone.
it's a bit like the Microsoft, really, because Apple have got if you're going to get an iPhone, it's going to be this or that,
Yeah.
and whichever year. There's only maybe 3 or 4 different phones really per year. You like the big one, the little one,
Yeah.
the SE versions.
Yeah.
But generally, you're going to get the 14, 15, 16, 17, right?
Mm.
Whereas Android, there's again this the Samsung,
Yeah.
there's Huawei.
Yeah. Yeah.
Said that right.
Yeah.
There's others as well, and you can go down cheaper, and you can end up with a bit like a Windows computer, a complete range of experiences.
Yeah.
I want to move on from hardware though.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, feel free to get in touch on any hardware questions. But obviously, you've also got, and again, whether you're a startup business or an established business, there's a choice at some point. What systems are we going to use? Obviously, Windows or Mac is one of the options, but you probably want some form of mail service. So Gmail, Exchange is the Microsoft answer to that. And the weird thing is, I haven't seen that Apple have ever put a proper business solution together. You've got a personal Apple service you can have. You can have iCloud, you can use their inbuilt Mac apps, etc. But Apple have never come to market with a proper full, almost like a Microsoft 365, Google Workspace equivalent. Like I'd expect it to be called like Apple Business
Yeah.
or something like that. And I'm really surprised they haven't done it, but they haven't. So the main sort of players in, let's say, a packaged up solution that encompasses your emails, your business apps, and your data storage, you're pretty much in Microsoft 365 or Google Workspace.
Yeah.
And that's what I want to kind of talk about a little bit. Which do you pick? Which do you go for? Which is cheaper? Which is better? And there is a bit of nuance in answer those questions. Always have to, again, specifically talk to people if they want to know. But generally, what I will find out from people is their history and their past. Is it just the one person in the business? Because then it's, well, what do you prefer?
Yeah.
How many people are you looking to bring on at some point? And everyone might not know that. But generally, what's been your history with computers? Are you used to Gmail? Is that what you like? Or have you grown up with Outlook? Because a lot of people, depending on age, would have grown up in work environments using Outlook, Word, and Excel.
Yeah.
And want to stick with that. And that's fair enough. A bit like always using Windows. That people don't naturally want to go, I just want to switch to Mac just to completely shake my world up.
Yeah, unless it's me.
So there is that. Cost-wise, they're kind of equivalent. There is subtle differences, but let's base on the mid-series, which is in Microsoft's world, it's Microsoft 365 Business Standard. And in Google Workspace, I think they've called it as well, Business Standard.
Okay. I don't know the name.
They're about £10 a month each per person that is on it.
Okay.
And with that, you obviously get the suite of applications. I've said them a couple of times. You get your professional email, so you can get your domain. Let's say it's cornishpasties.com. Reference to last week. You can get your domain and you can go, hey Google or hey Microsoft, I've got this domain, let's put it in, and every user I create in there is going to use that domain. So we've got Josh at cornishpasties.com, Matt at cornishpasties.com, whichever one we're with. And then you've got your storage options as well. So SharePoint in Microsoft or OneDrive, and Google Drive and Google Shared Drive in the Google world. So if you actually compare the two, solution-wise, they do similar things. You've also got Google Meet and you've got Teams. And arguably, Microsoft do some things a bit better and Google do things a little bit simpler.
Yeah.
I would say. So Microsoft have got more options generally. One of the biggest ones to consider, though, is Microsoft, if you wanted like an email address like hello at or contact at or sales at, Microsoft allow you to do that for free.
Yeah.
You have to create a shared mailbox, whereas Google don't. You have to license every account you have unless it's an alias. So that's usually a consideration point. And also, one other thing, and I'll ask your opinion on it.
Okay.
Google forces you to work in the web only.
Yeah.
There is no way to kind of sync. You can sync Google Drive, but if you try to open a document, it will spin it up in the web. So you're only operating in Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge, right? The web browser.
Yeah.
Whereas Microsoft have the desktop apps.
Yeah.
And whether you're on a Windows device or an Apple device, Microsoft and Apple, they're friendly in that Microsoft 365 works on both, and you can sync the files down. But you can open Word and open a document in it. And again, depending on experience, but a lot of people prefer that feel of being able to open documents. And previously, they've been on a server, but now it's a live sync to SharePoint. So that's, I'd say, the biggest difference, that Google, you are pretty much committing to web only, and Microsoft, you've got the choice to go web or desktop. And have you tried the difference?
Yeah, because so I originally started on Google. I think you remember.
Yeah.
I was using Google, and I actually prefer Google's sort of interface, and I prefer their mail, the way that mail works and everything. I do prefer that. But the thing that I still use Google for my personal stuff.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. So I've actually split. So the business works with Microsoft, and I work with Google.
Good, because you're a good person to ask then.
Yeah. So there's certain things which, so Google is really handy. You can use all of like Drive. Everything's really easy to find. Microsoft has obviously 1,000,000,001 applications. There are certain additional ones, like I like to dabble in Power Automate. Obviously, Google doesn't have any of that. They might have. Maybe they have an app somewhere, but I don't. I have never noticed
Not
one.
equivalent, I would say.
No. So I use a lot more of like the Microsoft suite, partly because I like to discover new tools and like have a little play with them. But the big thing for me, and this also applies onto like our software that we use to edit, is that all these big players are so obsessed with cloud. I think they sometimes forget that the internet doesn't necessarily exist everywhere.
Yeah.
Because they all just think, oh yeah, like everyone's in London, everyone's in like major cities. That's the only place work could
Everyone's
possibly
got
ever
great
happen.
internet, and syncing will happen seamlessly.
Yeah. Whereas I've been out on site, and I go to open like Photoshop, and it pops up and it's like, yeah, you just need to sign in. I'm like, okay. You try and sign in, it's like, can't connect to the server. Sorry. And you're like, okay, well, I have a shoot to do now.
Yeah.
So you're like frantically trying to hotspot or trying to find some internet, and it's really frustrating. And I feel like the same sort of thing can happen if you were only, that could be, I need to open like a storyboard document that is in Word or in Docs. And if that's only cloud accessible, that's a big problem to me on site. So I like to be able to have everything on the computer there. So when you can just cut the internet and I've still got everything I need.
Yeah. You can kind of achieve it in both, but if you're in Google, weirdly, you'd need to use like a Word or Excel to open a local file, which is madness.
But you'd still need the software.
Yeah, you'd need both if you wanted to achieve that on the Google world, which is really interesting. You can do it in 365 by standard, just by you can right click a folder or file and just go keep on this device, and it will retain that. So if there's some core files and things that you knew I'm going to need, you can do it in advance. And by default, if you've recently worked on a file, it would already be downloaded on your computer if you've got it set up in that way. I think it's fair to say that both options are fine. They're good value solutions. I mean, you can put your email provider somewhere else. There's loads of hosting websites that will just, you can set up emails on. I mean, it's rare that you see somebody that's trying to use word processing without Word or Docs or Apple Pages.
Yeah, Pages maybe. I don't know.
I think so. Brain blank for a sec. So you can sort of, you're going to be using one of those three. They have obviously security goes into consideration when you're going to choose which one you want to use. Microsoft do have a bit more of a plethora of apps. You mentioned Power Automate. You've also got Power BI, Power Apps, where you can start building your own applications as well. So I do feel like there are more options within the Microsoft framework.
Yeah.
And I would say if a business is going to scale quite large, they will outgrow Google. Some large businesses use Google and they can use it well, but I feel that you get more options of control within the Microsoft world.
Yeah.
And it can be, I find that a lot of IT providers will manage it better, and that Google can be a little bit clunky on the back end to manage as well. However, I've got clients that are all Google, I've got clients that are all Microsoft. I've got clients that are all Apple. So I've got a good mix actually. So I get to experience all the different worlds. You can lock down them all. There isn't really a security advantage, I would say, to choosing one over the other, as long as you put the controls and metrics in place. You do find a lot of software providers will build, like, let's say, antivirus, or let's say mail security providers. A lot of them are more geared towards Microsoft. However, you can still find really robust, good solutions in the Google world. So I wouldn't make a decision necessarily based on security if you're trying to choose between Google and Microsoft from like a 365 Google Workspace kind of point of view. But I definitely would factor in how big you're going to grow the business and what their plans are. And Google is simpler to use and feels a bit slicker. Microsoft does feel a little bit more clunky.
Which do you think is better for like cross-organization collaboration?
Microsoft.
Yeah. Okay.
I think there's more. I do think there's more opportunity. SharePoint does allow more control around that, but as I said, it needs to be set up properly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen many companies successfully doing Google collaboration on multiple projects. And
well, I know you can sort of like, you could share out like specific files, I feel like, quite easily on Google. Not necessarily.
It's just difficult to manage that though, unless you're in control of it. And if you've got a team of 30 people and they're all sharing out from Google Docs or in their Google Drive, it's quite difficult to manage like who's done what and where those shares and links go.
Yeah, that's a really good point in terms of when in your shared drive on Google, when somebody shares a document with you, I don't know whether you actually get that file or whether you just get like sort of a reference, like a shortcut.
Yeah.
I have had issues with that before, where somebody's removed something and they thought they were only deleting it their end, and they deleted it for everyone, and it's gone, which is kind of a problem.
This is with that kind of flexes the importance of having a backup.
Yeah,
and usually there will be some file retention by default for 30 days in whichever.
Okay.
Whether you're in Google or Microsoft.
Yeah, we didn't find it.
Yeah. Okay. But yeah, this is where like, where does the document originate? Who's sharing it? And are you just deleting the link, or are you deleting the file itself? So there is probably a bit of education needed around, and most companies need to understand and have a bit of a strategy when they're going to be collaborating and sharing out information, because it's something that can go wrong and people can give too much permissions around it.
Yeah.
But I hope that gives a good flavor of Apple, Microsoft, Google. You can use an Apple device on either Microsoft or Google. As I said, Apple aren't really in the business sort of suite of productivity apps. So when you're looking at that, it's going to be Microsoft or Google. And just if you're unsure, you'll find if you've got pain points currently, or if you've got more experience in the Microsoft and Google world, and you can always test and run trials to see what you prefer. If in doubt, you can get into contact with us, or just ask ChatGPT based on your scenario what it thinks.
But don't believe everything that comes out.
Yeah, ain't that the truth?
Yeah.
Let's jump into the Q&A. So we are into the Q&A section of the podcast. Reminder, if you want to ask us a question that we will sort of read out and answer during this section in a future podcast, the email address is podcast@synced-up.co.uk. Now, what we're going to do this week is Josh and I have wrote 2 questions for each other. So who's going to start?
I'll start.
Okay.
Shouldn't be too complicated for you. What's your favorite pair of running trainers?
So I got on really well with Puma as a brand. So my first pair of trainers I bought, just so they're on a really good offer, and I'd seen some good reviews about them, were called the Puma DV8 Nitro 2. And they were my everyday. So I ended up buying, they have a race version of that shoe, and it moved on since the 2. So it's called the Puma DV8 Nitro Elite 3. Okay. Now, I know, a lot of the trainer brands are the same, to be fair. But they released a Hyrox specific version.
Oh my God.
You might have seen them. Each trainer's a different color. One's more white and one's more green, I think.
Yeah.
Colorblind as hell. So
oh yeah.
And I just find them a really, really cool race shoe.
Yeah.
but I've just bought a new pair of Adidas Pro 4s and I'm really excited to wear them, but the weather's been so rubbish and I don't want to go get them all dirty and gross. I haven't ran in them yet.
Oh, oh, you haven't even used them yet?
No, they're sat ready to go, but the weather's been so... I don't want to get them all disgusting on the first run.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely my Nitro Elite 3s. They are a great running. So I've got a pair for High Rocks and a pair for Marathon. I've got the same shoe, but different colorway. So the one is the High Rocks specific. The other is like a reddy orange color.
Yeah. I tried to think how much you spent on trainers.
Well, fortunately, my dad for the last couple of Christmases has gone, "What do you want for Christmas, son?" And I've gone, "Oh, Dad, I really like these trainers." So my shout out to Mr. Crump has hooked me up with 2 pairs of trainers for the last 2 years now. Well, but 1 pair each year, and so yeah, I'm really happy when I'm running because they're perfect price for me.
Nice.
Okay. Do you? I can't ask you yet because you haven't. You're not too deep in the trainer game.
No,
yet. You'll get there. You'll get there.
I've only got 1 pair. They're good.
I'll ask you a similar. Okay, then. Would you rather go on? I'm a celebrity. Get me out of here.
Ooh.
Or Traitors. Now, have you seen Traitors?
Yeah, you should be Traitors. Hang on. Yes.
Traitors is the one where you're either a traitor or a faithful, and you've kind of got to trying to survive to the end, basically.
Yeah.
So I'm a celebrity, you know the format. Anton Deck.
Yeah, Traitors.
Traitors.
Oh, most of the stuff that happens and I'm a celebrity, I'm like, nope. If it's got like crawling rubbish.
If you are on Traitors, you had to be a traitor though. Your life in there would be a lie.
That's fine. That's fine. I can live a lie. What I can't do is eat weird stuff, crawl through bugs, and jump out of planes. Like that's not my life.
That's a fair enough answer, you big wimp.
What about you then?
I think I'm a celebrity would be I think they both would be a really cool experience. I think I'd be a rubbish traitor.
Okay.
I really struggle with lying. So yeah, I think I'd be I think as a full experience I'd do I'm a celebrity.
I mean, I agree. I think I'd be a rubbish traitor, but I'd much rather be a rubbish traitor than have to go through all that trauma.
I don't mind. I wonder how I'd actually cope with like huntsman spiders and snakes and stuff. I love snakes as an animal, but I don't want one there.
Yeah. I know how I'd deal with it in terms of like, I'll just tap out. I'd be like, nope.
You'd be the one that comes up with no stars and no food.
Yeah. And like, and everyone just hate me.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, it was worth it, guys. You don't know what I saw.
You weren't there, man.
You're better off starving.
Go on then. Have you got another question?
Yeah. Okay. So, if you had to start a completely new business, what do you think you would want to do? What do you think?
Pasties.
Pasties, for God's sake. Other than pasties.
Couldn't really go in tech or IT, right?
No, it's a different industry. I feel like just drop tech, drop IT, and Cornish pasties.
Ooh. I think maybe it'd be something in the fitness industry because obviously that is one of my other passions. But then I think that would completely take over my life. So I'd be a bit nervous that I'd fall out of love with it if it was everything that I did. I really liked nutrition. And started to get really interested in learning about that. So maybe that could be an element. Yeah, being like the problem with nutrition, especially if you're like trying to consult with people and help them fix their diet, that dealing with people who who say I want to eat healthy and then go and then I just come back and like, yeah, it didn't work, or I ate a pound of cake. I think that would long term frustrate me, but I really like nutrition and fitness, so I think maybe something around that. Or I did do YouTubing for a while, so maybe I could go into like I could try something around that again.
Hey, you could be a professional podcaster.
Yeah, that would be quite cool, to be fair.
Let's not get our hopes up.
All right. I don't. In the interest of time, I'll ask you my question.
Yeah. Okay.
Did you have an idea of what you would do though?
Nah, maybe something with conveyor belts because they're fun.
Okay. How do you cope when you've got lots of work? Like
When I've got lots of work.
when
What?
a lot of work hits the desk at one point.
What, emotionally or or like in
No, how
terms
do
of
you
how do we deal with
it?
it?
It's more on how do you manage yourself and your resources when,
Give it to
let's just
Tish.
say, 5 projects hit now, all of them wanted to be pre-Christmas. How are you going to manage? And you're starting to go, oh my gosh, I've got lots of tasks to do. How do you manage yourself and the team?
Right. First thing that happens is we have like a war room meeting, and I'm like, right, this is everything that has just come in. How are we going to deal with this? So we've got a bunch of like for like contractors that we can jump in, and like I can feed things to. So there's suppliers, not contractors. So there's a few people who I like really would trust to even go out and do shoots on their own. So that's always that's a good sort of buffer for us. It would mainly just be around like how do we manage it, but usually what happens when it gets extreme is I then go back into more of a technical role.
Yeah.
So I don't do much like business development. I just go into like, right, how
Techie, get it done.
yeah, like I'll do a lot of editing or a lot of shooting, whatever sort of helps bring the load down. I jump back into that seat for a lot longer and then I come out of it.
Are there any tools that help you organize yourself?
Um
Like, I'm now talking like digital or even writing stuff down or boards or like
mm,
when you've really got, if you've got 5 different projects and they're all at different points, you've got to remember to keep your touch points and like keep them all moving.
yeah.
How do you organize yourself from a digital or a organization standpoint?
So we use Monday to organize all of like our day-to-day projects. When it does get really, really like tight, when we're like deadlines almost like daily, there are things that need to get done. What we tend to do is there's a little whiteboard in the office, and we just make a list on there of like Jack is doing this, Josh is doing this. This is when it's happening. This is the next task. So Tish just makes it like it's just visual then, isn't it? So
Yeah.
you can look at the board and be like, right, I've done that now. Great, let's move on. Meanwhile, obviously, then Tish is keeping that on like in the digital format as well, because you can't just keep working between two.
It very much feels like you've got a team where when things come up, it's all hands on deck, and then you
Yeah.
can relax a little bit in the down or the quieter times. And
Yeah, I think we manage it pretty well. And if I mean my next step beyond that, if like you run out of subcontractors, is you start getting like stealing time from evenings,
yeah,
weekend, which I don't. That's like an absolute worst case scenario. But yeah, and I haven't had to do that for a long time, which is
good.
good.
Because everyone here listening wants you to be a happy person that's not drowning in
That's fine.
tasks on the evenings and weekends.
I'll be happy regardless, but
That's true.
just typing away at midnight with a smile on my face.
Well, thank you all for listening. It's been another experience on the Synced Up podcast. So get in touch if you've got any questions. Other than that, we'll see you next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.